I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is an 11-page short story written by Harleen Ellison in 1967. He wrote about his anger, how governments handle wars such as Vietnam, and how humans feel like pieces in a never-ending chess match instead of people. He created a universe where humans relied on this technology to handle wars and everything else for us, only to turn around and kill us all but 5 humans. Hello my little blue bunnies! Today we are going to do a critique on the Amazing Digital Circus since the show is finally over. This may be a longer video, so please grab your snacks, hydrate yourselves, and get comfortable. The story I spoke of in the beginning is an old story, one that many most likely know because of the video game or Digital Circus. But it is a story that is needed to understand what Gooseworks wrote about. Mind you, this is a critique on the Digital Circus and what it could have been, and not one about Gooseworks herself. If you wish to know our views about her, then you can check out the video Gooseworks' abstraction that will be linked to the video and in the description down below. We won't solely talk about Harleen's work, as the Digital Circus only drew inspiration from the original story and nothing else, but it can help us to figure out some things about the Digital Circus. Let's begin with episode 1. The episode begins with Kane and Bubble introducing the circus cast. I do have to mention, because I do still see this popping up online, especially Tumblr and TikTok, Bubble is not their own separate being from Kane. He is an AI created by Kane to be a type of hype man. Nothing more, nothing less. I bring this up now because it's going to frustrate me if we don't focus on the main points of this video and just answer dumb ass questions. I also will be referring to Jax as she, her in this video since Gooseworks has confirmed that she is trans femme, so let's move on. It introduces the cast very well with a catchy song that gets stuck in your head. Fox could not stop humming this song to herself while writing this script, and it does just tickle your head in a pleasant way. First introduced is Gangle, a ribbon creature with a theater mask. Think of the comedy and tragedy masks that pop up randomly, like in Lethal Company. Next is Zooble, a mix mash of toy box pieces with the only consistent part of their design being their pink triangle head and jelly bean body. Kinger follows behind Zooble as a king chess piece with a purple robe and floating gloves for hands. Clearly, if you study color theory or the history of colors, you would know that purple is a royal color, keeping up with the theme. Next we have Ragatha, who resembles Raggedy Ann, something that Gooseworks enjoys herself. She has a ragdoll-like design with a patchwork blue dress and spaghetti thread red hair. Following Ragatha is Jax, our designated Uwu soft boy resident. She is a purple rabbit with pink overalls. A very feminine design for a man in the series that cares about how she is perceived. We will get into this later as it will be covered much later. Lastly, we have Kaufmo, and I love the disclaimer over his cardboard cutout that just says he didn't show up today. He looks to have a very rubber hose clown design, with his head looking more like a spaghetti or pasta than an actual head. Mind you, the person who voices this character voices the Titan from the Owl House, Aaron. Fox was very excited about this detail, as they can never seem to escape this voice actor as well as Sayu. Back on track though. After the introduction is done, Pomni suddenly appears in the circus. She looks like a little jester with a red and blue color palette and black hair. These details are important for later, so just keep that in mind. Pomni is understandably confused and scared as Jax asks Kane if this is just a random NPC he cooked up or a new human, with Kane replying that Pomni is a human. basically confirming to us that these wacky characters are in fact human. Before much else can happen, Kane whisks Pomni off for a tour of the circus, showing off locations like the tent where she will live, the grounds which holds the digital lake and the digital carnival, and introduces Pomni to the sun and moon, which are portrayed as NPC characters. The void is a place that the characters are not supposed to venture out into. Kane tells Pomni in a very ominous way that he has no idea what is in the void, possibly to scare her from coming out here. When returning to the grounds, Moon tells Kane that she loves him, which makes him move Pomni back inside. That is when she sees an ominous red exit door. Pomni asks about it, but Kane says that such a thing does not exist and that she might be experiencing something called digital hallucinations, which is a detail that isn't elaborated on.
If there was a way to leave, I'm pretty sure we'd have all left by now.
Kane asks if Pomni can remember her name, a simple question she is unable to answer, prompting Kane to bring out a machine to give her a randomized name.
What do you think of... You're right, terrible. Let's try that again. What do you think of Pomni?
Fun fact, Pomni means remember in Russian. A little ironic, but fitting for this in my opinion. Kane gives everyone a new adventure where they have to capture the gloinks, strange geometric creatures that seem to steal everything in sight. He then disappears with Bubble to let the cast complete the adventure. Ragatha suggests that some of them should check on Kaufmo since he hasn't met Pomni yet. All the while, Zubul is getting captured by the gloinks along with Kinger's pillow fortress. So, Gangle and Kinger pair up to find Zubul while Jax, Ragatha, and Pomni go looking for Kaufmo in his room. I want to pause here to mention two things before we move on. 1. Jax mentions that Kinger has been here the longest, which does bring up some questions on how long the circus has been around for. 2 is Kane stating that he has no control over the characters' minds. We will put a pin in it for now and come back to it a little later. As Jax, Ragatha, and Pomni go through the bedroom corridor, they pass a handful of doors with red crosses over them and only a few without these crosses. These are the people we have already met. I also want to mention that Jax has already made awful comments about the women in the circus, calling Gangle a crybaby.
You, me, and Pomni will go check on Kaufmo, which leaves Crybaby and Hoo-Ha together to go handle the Zubul situation.
And taking Zubul's arm to use as a back scratcher. Here she states that she put centipedes in Ragatha's room, something she's clearly afraid of. Let's start a Jax douchebag meter here and put 3 points. I know some of these are meant to be gags, but to be able to talk more about her actions, we have to add these here. Once they open Cosmo's bedroom door, they are greeted with a massive black monster covered in colorful eyes all over its body. Jax plays it cool by just grabbing a bowling ball and booking it down the hallway. Her actual reaction isn't revealed until episode 9, which we will get through soon. Ragatha thinks she can help Kaufmo by talking him down, but he ends up attacking her instead by throwing her around the place before chasing Pomni. Pomni escapes him before returning to Ragatha to ask what she should do. Ragatha suggests that she should find Kane as he would be able to fix this. This is all while Ragatha is in constant pain from her body glitching in unnatural angles. While this is happening, Kinger and Gangle manage to find the gloink hole, but before they could form a plan, Jax meets up with them. Jax can hear that the abstraction is nearby, so she throws the bowling ball into Kinger, which causes Kinger and Gangle to fall in before Jax follows suit into the hole. That's another point for the douchebag meter. There we go. Once we see Pomni again, she is searching and shouting around the circus for Kane before she finds the abstraction once again, forcing her to hide. This is where she captures her own reflection in the mirror and touches her cheek with her blue hand, an important detail for later, so keep that in mind. Pomni soon finds a random exit door again and goes through it. I assume to just escape. possibly to bring it up to the authorities, but 1, we don't actually know if she would do this, and 2, she has only cared about escaping this entire episode. I would be too if I was in her position. Back with the Gloink squad, where they finally find Zooble and the Gloink Queen, or Mother of Gloinks. Zooble is in the process of being fed to the Gloink Queen by her children because Jax didn't want to help her, and Gangle and Kinger did rock, paper, scissors to see who would help poor Zooble. Since he actually has hands, Kinger tries to grab her head, but since the hands are not attached to his body, they allowed the Gloinks to continue feeding Zooble to their mother. Such a good gag, honestly. Jax notices one of the Gloinks glitching out and proceeds to not say anything and pretends that it doesn't exist, even though she knows why it's happening. While the adventure continues without her, Pomni is opening door after door after door and slowly losing her mind before finally running through an office space. It really reminds me of the back rooms, just non-stop nonsensical rooms that look like an office and don't seem to have any sort of end. Her eyes land upon a computer with a VR headset and fixates on it for a moment before she continues to try and find a way out, which causes her to float into the void. She seems to be stuck in a trance as she does not move or speak while out here. We will talk more about the void later because I have issues with it, and let's just finish up this episode. The abstraction ends up breaking through the floor and into the Gloink cave, landing on the Gloink Queen. When Jax was asked who it was, he mentions it was Kaufmo in a very casual way. The reveal immediately gets a shocked response out of Gangle about it. They save Zooble when the Gloink Queen is defeated by the abstraction, and as they are about to leave, Jax says,
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
This is another point on the douchebag meter. We are at 5 already. Zooble realizes that Pomni wasn't even here and complains that she didn't take part in the adventure. Jax responds to them with,
Quiet, I can't hear the escalator.
Ugh, she riles myself and fucks up a lot, and these criticisms are coming from 2 Jax fans. We finally see what Kane and Bubble have been doing this entire time. Both are seated in a digital restaurant surrounded by mannequin NPCs, while having some digital food, before Kane notices that Pomni is in the void. He yells out,
Someone's venturing out into the void! They'll get totally spoiled!
This is never mentioned again. Spoiled from what, Kane? Kane immediately takes Pomni back to the circus, handles the Kaufmo abstraction by placing him in a basement with a bunch of other abstracted characters, and explains the exit door. He explains that it was something he made because there was so much talk about an exit. This entire situation leaves a wedge between Ragatha and Pomni as, well, Pomni did essentially leave her to die. Kane fixes Ragatha's glitching and gives them a reward for completing the adventure, a feast on a table.
Made with all the love I'm legally allowed to give.
Kinger mentions how they don't actually have to eat, which Jax responds with,
Sheesh, lay off it. Since when are you an expert on the digital world?
This is something to make note about. Now, this frame here, with Pomni in the middle of the table and everyone next to her, is the spitting image of the Last Supper painting. A painting that shows Jesus during the Last Supper before he was given to the Romans to be nailed to the cross. Jax is sitting where Judas the Betrayer sits. This isn't related to anything in the story, but I wanted to mention this to show how beautifully done this is. It ends with a zoom in on Pomni smiling and accepting her fate as someone stuck in the circus. This episode is good, and it has amazing build-up and tension, and it grabs the viewer by the nuts and demands their attention. As I mentioned in the intro, it has themes from Harleen's work, the powerful AI god who houses humans. Though Kane does not seem to be like AM, he seems to sorta care about his humans in a way, creating an exit door for them just because of how many of them were looking for one. Pomni is a good main character in the series. We will get back to why I put main character in quotas in a moment, but this is a later issue. The characters are great and we get little bits of their personality shining through here, which just makes me want to know more about these people. The pilot is also filled with questions. What is DNA? Why are we stuck in the digital circus? Does the exit door have more meaning? And how can they escape? This causes mystery for the show, which excites audiences and makes people want to come back for more. I do have to add the issues with the Void here, as it only appears in 2 episodes, episode 1 and episode 9. The mention of Pomni getting spoiled is never brought up again, and it just seems to be a useless part of the story. I will spoil a bit here and say Gooseworks has stated that she likes to think that the Void is just where things that get deleted go, but this is never explained in the show itself. This episode really does a good job with making people want to see what happens next, how the show will continue, and what will happen to our favorite characters. Episode 2 is definitely a change. It begins with Pomni having a nightmare, mainly hearing voices from Ragatha, Jax, and Kane. She walks around the circus as she is calling out for anyone around until she notices her arm is abstracting. Panic sets in as she calls for help, only to be thrown into the cellar where she hears this conversation.
Looks like our new friend's already abstracted.
Well, I guess we're not all cut out for it.
I don't even remember her name, honestly.
Pomni wakes up and startled, which causes her to fall onto a cube, which causes a physics glitch. We will get back to this particular glitch later in the video and in another episode. Pomni's attention is brought to her door as Ragatha is on the other side, asking if she is awake. She opens the door a crack and Ragatha tells her to not worry about the day prior, that Pomni was going through a lot and it is understandable for her to go through the exit. This is her apologizing to herself for Pomni. This is a trauma response. If you have already forgiven the problem before the person apologizes, then you don't have to worry about the situation. They are soon whisked off for a brand new adventure where they have to help the Candy Kingdom recover their most precious resource, maple syrup. Kinger makes an interesting comment here about bugs, bringing us back to the comment he made in the pilot about a bug collection. After talking to the princess, Ragatha says to Pomni,
Look, Pomni, we're already friends with the princess.
I'm not a child, you don't have to hype me up.
This is dismissive and shows that Pomni is actively pushing herself away from Ragatha here and stating to her that she doesn't need this type of attention. She doesn't do this kindly either, just blunt. I'm not saying Pomni should have treated Ragatha like a child and stepped around her feelings, but she could have gone about it in another manner. They have an oil rig brought to them, which Jax immediately calls shotgun, then proceeds to instead sit in the driver's seat. She quickly gives up the seat to Gangle after being unhappy with the sound of the horn. They drive off to chase Gummigoo and his brothers who have stolen the other oil rig of maple syrup. On a side note, my script writer is an absolute perv, as the only note she wrote on this section was "Speak harder to me, Daddy Gummigoo." Fox, what the fuck? Where's the holy water? Point taken, moving on. They catch up to the Gummy Crocs and a Mad Max style chase ensues. Jax explains her plan to Gangle of how she wants her to move the oil rig closer to the other one to be able to jump across and shoot them with her shotgun. Ah, she did call shotgun. Gangle says that she thinks it violates some sort of convention, referring to the Geneva Convention. You know, the one that states you can't put a woman and a man in the same cell, or you can't use child soldiers.
You're violating my ears with your clapback. Get driving, driver.
Another point on the douchebag meter for Jax here. She then throws Pomni out of the truck. That's another point. Holy shit, woman, you were collecting these points as if they're achievements in this game. Pomni is in between the trucks now, one hand holding onto each one. Kinger, my scriptwriter's favorite character, as she keeps telling me, throws a lifesaver into Pomni to try and help the situation, while Jax talks about using her as a bridge to get across. Pomni ends up letting go of one of the trucks and landing on the Gummies truck, which only gets complaints from Jax. Now, in this next bit, Jax calls Gangle either Ribbons or Ribbit here. If she calls her Ribbit, holy shit man, this is important for later, but if it is Ribbons, then we can ignore this whole section.
Hey, Ribbons! Up and at 'em!
Jax also just straight up bullies Gangle throughout this episode by asking her if she was meant to be submissive and agreeable, as well as threatening to tell Ragatha about the figurine thing. Jax, baby girl, this is blackmail and adds 2 more strikes to the douchebag meter. Gangle rams the oil rig into the gummy rig, making Pomni freak out and ask if they're trying to kill her. Gummy Goo fights back by turning on the rig spikes, so when Kinger throws the anchor to try and save Pomni, it slams their oil rig into the spikes before falling into the fudge lake below. The croc oil rig hits the cliff in a way that triggers the physics glitch before sending Pomni and Gummy Goo underneath the map. Holy crap, that was a lot for us to get through, and now we have one of the most beautiful scenes in the series. We are just going to skip the part where Jax riles Ragatha up again, mainly because this script and video will already need to be split into 3 or 4 videos with how the script is going. But we will add another strike to the douchebag meter just for that. Pomni actively states that she doesn't want anyone to feel that they are nothing, and to me this reads as someone who has felt like this before. Someone who has battled depression and knows what it's like to feel like you are nothing. To have a moment where you wonder how quickly people would move on from your death, or if they would even care to begin with. Pomni knows how this feels, so why did she end up here? Is this some sort of limbo? Is she someone who tried to take their life and ended up here? We know they have their memories, the only thing they don't have is their name, and it is something interesting to think about.
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me.
We already know Pomni didn't feel okay with being in the circus, and need I remind you of episode 1 and how she acted about everything? But it is interesting to see she is choosing an NPC to form a connection with over a real person. It could be a situation where she doesn't feel a connection with anyone else, or it could be too real for her, but this would be up to how we take how she acts or reacts, rather than if we got told. Pomni and Gummy Goo use the physics glitch again, sending the oil rig up into the sky from under the map. They land where everyone else was located and destroy the fudge monster they were using to travel across. Before Pomni and Gummy Goo land, Kinger states something interesting to Ragatha while he wears a bucket on his head.
It's a lot for anybody to go through. Don't take it too personally. I remember how long it took for you to adjust.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised you remember that.
How would Kinger know? He barely even knows what's going on during adventures or anything, so how does he remember that far back? We will get back to this later, but just put a pin in it. They finish the adventure and take Gummy Goo to the circus, only for Kane to fucking explode him. Apparently NPCs can't be in the circus because it confuses him between who's a human and who's an NPC. The episode ends with Kaufmo's funeral, where Pomni notices that even if she does abstract, these people care about her, reminding her of the nightmare where she is falling. Zubul, Ragatha, and Gangle all grab her hand to ground her and comfort her. Maybe this place isn't as bad as she thinks. Episode 2 is good in the context of character build-up, but I do have to say after watching the entire series, I think episode 2 is a waste of time. It does create good character building for Pomni, and we understand her a lot better now than we did before, and see that she is clearly battling mental illness issues that can make anyone feel worthless. However, after the recent Q&A that Gooseworks did, I understand that she was the only writer on the entire show, that she had to rewrite episodes because they didn't fit anymore, that she didn't get any help, no one to ask questions to, and no one to look over her work. I do still believe that episode 2 could have moved a bit better. The pacing within the series tends to shift depending on the act we are up to, so it becomes a situation of we are at the beginning so nothing happens, which isn't entirely true. As I mentioned, we learned a lot about Pomni here, we learn a bit about Kinger, and we see the abuse that Gangle goes through at the hands of Jax. We also see that Zubul just straight up refuses to go on adventures. It just feels like nothing in the grand scheme of things when you are looking at it from the perspective of the full series. This episode is good, don't get me wrong, but I would have changed the episode to solely focus on Pomni's issues and maybe start introducing Jax as a main character instead of what we originally got. Now onto episode 3. It begins with the group trying to figure out what happens when Pomni holds her breath. They all seem to have a strange quirk when they do this.
Why am I the one doing this? Why not one of you guys?
Because something different happens with each person. For instance, Kinger starts glowing, Ragatha's hair noodles stick up, Gangle's mask starts spinning, and Zubul turns straight.
My limbs straighten up and f*** off.
What about you?
He refuses to show us because he's a coward.
Fox's personal take on the matter is that she does that cartoony face expression that happens when she gets choked by Zubul in the first episode. I personally don't think I agree, as these abilities seem out of the ordinary, but I do not have my own theory. Pomni's face shifts through multiple different colors and seems to cycle through them. I really like this bit as it gives us a deeper understanding of each of the characters, mainly the fact that Jax still doesn't feel okay to share or be vulnerable with others. We will expand on this more later. Kane appears and explains a new adventure for everyone, a horror-themed story made for Zubul, who isn't there. Kane gets a bit upset about this, considering he made this adventure for them and wanted them to go on it, which is understandable. They get sent through the rift to go on the adventure and appear in a haunted house where they are greeted by a little ghost who explains that one door is friendly, while the other one is a full horror experience. While trying to decide which door to take, Jax grabs Gangle's mask and yeets it through one of the doors, only to figure out that the little ghost was lying about which door was which. Kinger, while still holding one of Pomni's eyes, runs after the mask and jumps through, dragging Pomni through with him. Oh, why was he holding one of her eyes? Well, they popped out of her head upon meeting the ghost and couldn't figure out how to put them back in. This little stunt is another strike on the douchebag meter for Jax, by the way. We cut to plot B of the episode where Kane tries to do a psych session with Zubul to figure out why they won't go on his adventures. Zubul explains that Kane doesn't listen and that they don't feel okay in their own body. This is a beautiful representation of body dysmorphia, and I am so happy that they depicted this. Kane states that he has fixed this situation by giving Zubul the toy box of parts for Zubul to change their looks. But to Zubul, this is like giving everything to someone who doesn't know what they want. They don't know how to feel comfortable in their own body, and they don't know who they are meant to be. We cut back to Pomni and Kinger, who have ended up in this hunter's trophy room. Heads on the wall of each member of the group, and one large head in the center of the room. The room is dark, only lit up by a couple of dim lights.
You know, I'm starting to think...
This isn't just a throwaway joke. This is Kinger just straight up telling us he is starting to think and become more lucid. They listened to the audio recording from the hunter that explained that the hunter was tracking down a creature that had been going after him and his family. How they couldn't get their eyes off of the head of the creature. Obviously, this audio recording is in a different room from the creature, so they physically have to remove their eyesight from the creature. They look for a way out, the lights go out, and after a bit of comedy, the creature appears and screams at them. As they try to escape, the creature opens its mouth and reveals eyes, in which Kinger responds with,
You look beautiful, honey.
This is such an interesting moment for Kinger, one that tells us that something happened to his wife. They managed to escape downstairs before anything bad could happen. We're taken back to Zubul and Kane, and I have basically explained the gist of the conversation that they have, but I do want to add one thing here. What Zubul says about the other members of the circus.
Ragatha's just too nice to say anything. Jax just likes to f with everybody. Gangle's too shy to speak up. Kinger's insane. And Pomni, she looks traumatized every time she comes back from one.
This is a bit of a tell, don't show, but one that makes sense in this situation. Zubul is talking about each person's experiences with Kane and how they react to the adventures. Kane begins to glitch out here, talking about how if he isn't good at what he does, then why does he exist? This is a beautiful insight to how Kane is feeling in this current time. How Kane wants to be good at what he does and wants to do what the others want, but he just doesn't understand what that means or what humans even want. It's a binary to him. Kinger and Pomni sit in the cellar, looking around the dark room. Obviously, there's some comedy moments here and there, but mainly explaining how the creature needs to be killed. Kinger ends up shooting both the angel's head and body with a shotgun they found, only to be told by the audio recording that they will be sent to hell because they just shot an angel. Just as the audio said, both were dragged beneath the ground into hell shortly after. What are the others doing while this is happening? Well, Ragatha and Gangle are having an amazing tea party with the ghost of the wife of the hunter who murdered her, while Jack sat in the corner tied up so she couldn't ruin the moment. They finish the tea party and wait at the exit door for Kinger and Pomni to finish their adventure. Knowing Kane, they probably should have been more worried about their friends in my opinion. Pomni and Kinger sat in hell, mainly wondering what to do and how to escape. They see a hallway with some particles within it. To check to see if the hallway was safe, Kinger throws one of his eyes down the hallway to see that there is a staircase on the other end of it. I love that in the Polish dub of the scene, Kinger says, and I'm roughly translating here, "Let me throw my eye." An old saying to "let me take a look." They figure that the hallway is safe, only for Pomni to get possessed when she runs into the hallway. Kinger brings her back, only for Pomni to say,
How's your wife, Kinger?
Holy shit, Kane, you programmed all of this, and you come out swinging and roasting the absolute crap out of Kinger? That's dark, man. Kinger manages to bash the soul out of Pomni, which ends the possession. Kinger has a beautiful moment here, and there are a few things I want to point out. He states,
Man, 7 years of computer science for this, huh?
so he definitely was a programmer before all this. This does paint a bit of a picture as he is the oldest one here. I will not spoil it because we will get to it in the future, just make it known. This whole conversation brings tears to my eyes. Kinger had a wife in the circus. She abstracted and now he is alone, and Kane torments him by programming NPCs to ask him, how's your wife?
Good memories can do a lot. Hold on to them. And cherish the people around you.
Kinger is going to make me cry like a sick dog. Bro has been through so much and it makes me want to baby him. They decide to hold their breath, mainly because the audio recording states that they will breathe their last breath while down here. Pomni starts shifting colors while Kinger starts glowing, and I do have to mention the guiding light metaphor. Kinger is framed here as a guiding light, a guardian angel if you will. Someone who will protect another and shine in their darkest moments. I love this scene so much. They finally get upstairs where the rest of the group is waiting for them. They have a beautiful catch-up before Gangle asks about their mask, and we get Kinger's first swear in the whole series. Confetti cannon, guys! They end up leaving to go back to the circus, where Kane immediately pretends that they weren't having a psych session, and the episode finishes. This is an amazing episode as we learn more about Kinger. We get a greater understanding of him, what he went through, and what could have happened. We have more questions too, like was Kinger a programmer for the Digital Circus? Did Kinger make Kane? We also have more information on Pomni's fears in this episode. It genuinely seems like she has a fear of meaning nothing. It is heartbreaking to see this. I really enjoyed this episode and wouldn't have changed too much about it. This is it for part 1, because if we don't put this video into parts, my scriptwriter might actually start demanding payment. I hope you all enjoyed this video. We will discuss the pins that we have placed in part 2 and 3 of this series. Please check out the Discord link below. Thank you to Low Fluff for the background music, and thank you to Haunted Fox for the scripts. We will see you guys in part 2 or in the next video we post. Bye bye!